Absolutely, yeah. I'm almost feeling a little bit cynical about education around adults at the moment, because I think it is just the whole concept of debt and borrowing is so ingrained in our culture today. So I really think we need to go, bottom up and start teaching children about managing their money. Not just teaching them about debt, but teaching them about money, how to manage it, and how to budget and how to look after that, so they don't need to borrow in the first place. I really think where there's a big opportunity now.
Well, at the moment, the government have just introduced a new initiative. It's called Economic Wellbeing and Financial Capability, and all schools have the opportunity from September of next year to talk to or introduce students to the idea of debt management. So there's a huge opportunity out there.
I'm a bit of a cynic, and I would have to say that education is good. I can't see any reason why education shouldn't be given. The bottom line is it doesn't really matter how much education. You're going to have 5% of the population in serious debt problems, and we need to get a resolution for these individuals. Because of the culture that we live in, unless we change the culture, you are going to have people who want to buy. I mean, if I'm 18 and all my friends have iPods, even though I know what APR stands for, if somebody's allowing me the money to get the iPod, I will get the iPod. So, we need to have something in place to deal with the people when they fall over in a way that maximises their ability to not feel as a failure, because people don't want to set out in life to become failures, and also to return money to the banks and get that person back into society.
It's quite tricky. We say that our parents should do the job, but my parents were lousy at it, and I didn't have debt problems when I was a kid because there wasn't any money around anyway to get into debt with. There weren't the cards, there weren't the facilities, there weren't the overdrafts that banks and other lending institutions are currently offering us. And so this new generation really do have a tough job because they're having to learn on the move. I think education must start with the institutions, and I think they should be much more open, really. A health check, if you like, on the products they're offering us. I don't think there's enough of that around. And if there is a lack of knowledge about how finance works and how compound interest can drive up your debt without your realising it, that's got to come much more from the people who lend you the money.
Well, I definitely think that we need to teach people at a younger age how to manage their money. So maybe not so much about credit cards and loans and things like that, but just simple things like budgeting, managing money, and also I think there's a great need for trying to get people to save. So save early and plan to save.
It's a $6 million question, isn't it? I think really the most important message we can give is really try and get back to basics on budgeting and looking at where your money is going. So many people don't actually do that. It's something of a lost skill these days. And once you know exactly where your money is going on a monthly basis, it becomes an awful lot easier to start looking after it. The other thing I would also say is as soon as you start struggling with your repayments, is to bite the bullet and get advice. There's a lot of charities out there. You don't have to pay for advice. Speak to the Consumer Credit Counselling Service, speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau and get some advice before it's too late, because that's what most people will tell you who go into IVAs, who go bankrupt. That's what they'll tell you, is they wish they sought advice earlier.
Well, I think people who are badly in debt, as I said during the debate, I think that their issue is more about needing advice in the first instance. But there are things they can do. There are some workplaces will provide education. We're trying to encourage that and build something up so that we can actually go out to companies and say, look, here's something you can offer to people. We've also built up an adult qualification so that adults can, in bite-sized chunks, learn about how to manage their own finances better. I thought it was a really interesting debate. I was expecting it to be much more about debt issues, but there seems to be a very wide interest in education, and education at all levels, which I was surprised by and very pleased by, because I think that if we can get a groundswell of people saying we need this in schools, that eventually the government's going to have to take notice.
I think the debate went really well, actually. I was really impressed by the panellists and how animated they got. There was obviously a lot of questions, and it was obviously something people really got passionate about and wanted to talk about. about.
Well, I thought it was a very good discussion. I don't think it's an easy answer, or it's very easy to get answers about the best way to educate people or when they should be educated. I think it's a very difficult thing to really get an answer to. But I think some very interesting points were raised and a lot of food for thought.
I thought the panel went very well today. The only thing was the lack of time. There was just so much discussed, and it could have gone on for another hour. So it was really good, really interesting stuff. Some great questions from the audience as well.
I think the debate was very good. There's a lot of audience participation, more audience participation than the last time. So it's obviously at the heart of everybody's thoughts on education and debt.